Welcome to Story Planet, where we bring you relaxing tales to help you unwind. Tonight's story is Whispers of Ice, an Arctic Journey. So settle in, get cozy, and let yourself drift into a world of quiet wonders and endless snow. Feel the crisp Arctic air, the warmth of companionship, and the soft magic of distant lands as you journey with us. Now, let's begin. In a quiet corner of Seattle, where mist clings to the trees and the rain hums its soft lullaby, lived Celeste and Henry. A couple bound not just by love, but by the gentle rhythms they had created together over the years. Their home was warm and lived in, filled with treasures from a life spent hand in hand, heart to heart. Sunlight filtered through rain-streaked windows, casting golden rays on their well-loved furniture and on the stacks of books and magazines that spilled over every table. Among them were glossy pages of travel journals and photo collections, each one holding the colors and landscapes of distant lands, worlds that Celeste and Henry had wandered through in their dreams. They were not travelers of the hurried sort. They had always been drawn to places that whispered rather than shouted, that beckoned with quiet beauty instead of bright lights. And in their gentle pace of life, one dream had stayed with them like a shadow, lingering in the corners of their conversations: the Arctic. To Celeste, it was more than a place. It was an idea, a world of endless white, where snowflakes fell in perfect silence and ice glistened under an open sky, untouched and eternal. On so many evenings, they had spoken of it. Celeste, with her hand resting on Henry's arm, would describe the images she had collected in her mind, the way the sky must look, stretched above endless snow, the way penguins would waddle along icy shores, unhurried, wrapped in nature's perfect stillness. Henry would listen, his eyes soft with affection, nodding as he imagined these landscapes through her words. And then, one October evening, as the rain whispered its soft patter against their windows, Henry took her hand in his, gave it a gentle squeeze, and said, "Let's go, Celeste. Let's see it. Let's see the Arctic together." His words floated between them, sinking into the warm air of their home, settling into her heart like the gentle fall of snowflakes. A smile crept across her face, slow and filled with wonder, as if he had offered her the gift of her very own dream. And so they began to plan, a journey not just of miles, but of heart and spirit, a journey that would carry them to the edge of the world. The morning of their departure dawned crisp and clear, with Seattle's sky a soft gray that hinted at the vastness that lay beyond. Celeste and Henry boarded their flight in quiet anticipation, their hands clasped together, sharing silent glances filled with the knowledge that something beautiful awaited them. As the plane lifted, they watched their city fade into a patchwork of green and blue, the landscape giving way to mountains and rivers, then to the open skies of the north. When they arrived at the harbor, they could hardly believe their eyes. There, gently swaying on the still waters, was the ship that would carry them to the Arctic. It was elegant and calm, with gleaming white decks and wide windows that framed the sea as if it were a painting. The air was filled with the scent of salt and cold, tinged with the faintest hint of pine carried from the shore. As they stepped onto the ship, A kind crew member welcomed them, his voice warm and soft. "Welcome aboard," he said. "You've chosen the perfect time to witness the Arctic. She's quiet this time of year, as if waiting for travelers like you." The words floated over them like a gentle blessing, and they followed him to their cabin, where they would begin their journey northward. Their cabin was a haven of warmth, a small, cozy space filled with soft blankets, plump pillows, and a large window that looked out onto the endless expanse of ocean. As they settled in, unpacking their sweaters and scarves, their books and journals, they felt a calmness settle over them, as if the ship itself was preparing them for the days ahead. When the ship finally set sail, Celeste and Henry stood on the deck, hand in hand, watching the shoreline drift away. The world felt quiet, as if it, too, was holding its breath, waiting for the journey to begin. The sea stretched before them, a deep, dark blue that melted into the sky, and as the ship glided forward, they felt their dream take shape, pulling them toward the heart of the Arctic. The days at sea became a gentle rhythm, like the lapping of waves against the hull. Each morning, they would wake to the soft glow of dawn filtering through their window, casting a warm light across their small cabin. Henry would rise first, brewing a pot of tea, filling the air with its earthy aroma. They would sip their tea slowly, savoring each warm, comforting sip, wrapped in blankets as they gazed out at the horizon. Their breakfasts were simple, but heartwarming. A bowl of oatmeal topped with fresh berries, and a drizzle of honey, warm slices of toast spread with butter, and eggs cooked just the way they liked. They would sit side by the window, watching as the ocean unfolded before them, the ship gliding through waters that seemed to go on forever. Sometimes they would catch sight of dolphins dancing alongside the ship, their sleek bodies breaking the surface in joyful arcs, a reminder of the life that thrived beneath the waves. As the ship sailed deeper into the Arctic, the landscape began to change. They passed fields of floating ice, each piece glistening under the pale light, casting reflections that danced on the water's surface. The ice seemed to stretch endlessly, a world of white and blue, as if they had sailed into a dream. The cold air brushed against their cheeks, sharp and invigorating, filling their lungs with a crispness that felt like the very breath of winter. On the deck, they would stand side by side, wrapped in layers of warmth, their scarves and coats pulled tightly around them. They watched in silence, feeling the world around them slow to a gentle rhythm, as if nature itself was inviting them to rest, to breathe, to simply be. One afternoon, as they strolled along the deck, a quiet excitement spread among the passengers. A pod of whales had been spotted in the distance. Henry and Celeste made their way to the railing, their breaths mingling with the crisp Arctic air as they peered out across the water. There, on the vast expanse of the sea, dark shapes rose and fell, moving in graceful arcs that seemed almost otherworldly. The whales were like shadows in a dream, their movements slow and measured, as if they carried the weight of ancient knowledge. Celeste placed a hand over her heart, feeling the quiet awe that rose within her. "They're like whispers from the past," she murmured. Henry wrapped an arm around her, both of them transfixed by the gentle giants that drifted through the water, leaving ripples that shimmered in their wake. In that moment, the Arctic felt like a realm of secrets, a place where time moved at its own pace, untouched by the hurried rhythms of the world they had left behind. The morning they arrived near a penguin colony dawned softly, the sky a blend of gray and pale blue that hinted at the day's gentle beauty. The captain announced the sighting, and with quiet excitement, Celeste and Henry wrapped themselves in layers, stepping onto the deck to see these creatures they had only read about in travel books and watched in nature documentaries. As the ship neared the shore, they could see the tiny figures, Gentoo penguins, their white and black coats blending beautifully against the snowy landscape. Some penguins waddled along the shore in pairs, while others stood in small groups, squawking and bobbing their heads in an animated, endearing way. A few slid across the ice on their bellies, a movement so joyful and carefree that Celeste couldn't help but laugh. "Oh, look at them," she whispered to Henry, her eyes sparkling. "They're like little dancers in tuxedos." Henry smiled, watching her delight as she leaned forward over the railing, enraptured by the sight. But it was a simple act, a quiet moment within the bustling scene that touched them most. A male penguin was slowly, carefully making his way toward a nearby female, carrying a small, smooth pebble in his beak. Each step he took was filled with purpose, his gaze fixed on the path ahead, as if he were carrying the most precious gift in the world. As he reached the female, he gently placed the pebble at her feet, bowing his head in a gesture of humility and love. The female looked at him, her eyes soft and gentle, before picking up the pebble and nestling it among the others in her nest. The two stood close, their heads touching in a tender moment of shared warmth amidst the cold. Celeste felt tears prick her eyes as she watched. It's like they're building something, stone by stone, a home, a memory. Henry wrapped an arm around her shoulders, pulling her close. "Just like us," he murmured, pressing a soft kiss to her temple. They stood in silence, feeling a connection not just to each other, but to these creatures who, in their simple, beautiful way, were a reminder that love could be found even in the coldest places. As night settled over the Arctic, a quiet anticipation filled the air. The crew had mentioned the possibility of seeing the northern lights, and as Celeste and Henry wrapped themselves in blankets and made their way to the deck, the world felt hushed, as if holding its breath for the spectacle to come. The sky was clear, scattered with stars that shone brighter than they had ever seen. They stood together, gazing up, their breaths mingling in the cold air, and then, like a brushstroke across the heavens, a soft green glow began to spread, faint at first, then growing brighter, shifting and swirling in graceful arcs. The colors moved like whispers, green and violet, sometimes fading, then brightening again, a slow, gentle dance across the sky. Celeste's heart swelled with awe as she watched, her fingers entwined with Henry's. It was as if the lights were alive, breathing and pulsing, a language written in colors that spoke directly to the soul. "It's like watching dreams come to life," she whispered. her voice filled with wonder. Henry nodded, his gaze fixed on the sky, both of them wrapped in a shared reverence. They stood there, unmoving, as if they had become part of the landscape, two figures silhouetted against the northern sky, bathed in the light of a world untouched by time. In the silence, beneath the lights that whispered secrets of the universe, they felt a peace that words could not capture. It was a peace that seeped into their hearts, a quiet knowledge that they were exactly where they were meant to be. The Arctic days brought a gentle rhythm to their lives, a soothing pace that wrapped around them like a warm blanket. Their meals aboard the ship became small celebrations, moments of warmth and companionship amidst the vastness of the frozen world. Each morning, they would start with a simple breakfast, a bowl of oatmeal sprinkled with fresh berries and a drizzle of honey, warm slices of toast, and steaming mugs of coffee. They would sit by a window, watching the snowy landscapes drift by, their conversation soft and filled with shared smiles. Sometimes, they spoke of the places they had seen, the wonders they had witnessed. Other times, they sat in companionable silence, content just to be. Dinner was an affair filled with quiet laughter and lingering glances. They dined on hearty stews, rich with vegetables and tender meat, bread baked fresh with a golden crust, and delicate Arctic char, its flavor delicate and pure, like the land they were traveling through. Celeste would lift her glass, a soft smile playing on her lips, and toast to the beauty around them, to the wonder of a world that had embraced them so warmly. As they ate, the gentle hum of the ship was their constant companion, a lullaby that wrapped around them, comforting and steady. They savored each bite, each sip, knowing that these moments, so simple yet profound, would be woven into the fabric of their memories, a tapestry of warmth and wonder. One quiet afternoon, as they stood on the deck watching the snow-covered shore drift by, Celeste felt a sense of peace settle over her like a soft snowfall. The world around them was silent, the only sound, the gentle lapping of water against the ship, the distant call of a bird, the soft rustle of wind through the icy landscape. They leaned against the railing, watching as the ice drifted lazily, stretching to the horizon in shades of white and blue. The vastness of it all made her feel small, yet in a way that was comforting, a reminder of the beauty of surrendering to something greater than oneself. "It's strange," she murmured, her gaze fixed on the endless snow. "I feel like we've traveled to a different world." Henry nodded, his eyes soft with understanding. "The Arctic has a way of stripping things down, doesn't it? All the noise, all the hurry, it just fades away, leaving only what truly matters." They stood in silence, hand in hand, feeling the presence of the landscape seep into their bones, filling them with a peace that could only be found in a place untouched by the rush of time. The Arctic, with its quiet power and gentle beauty, had become a part of them, a world that would forever be etched into their hearts. Thank you for joining us here on Story Planet. If you felt the chill of Arctic air, the warmth of companionship, and the quiet beauty of a world wrapped in snow, consider giving a thumbs up. And if this story brought you peace and calm, feel free to share it with friends and family. Don't forget to subscribe for daily stories from Story Planet, offering serene escapes every day. Wishing you a peaceful night and a restful sleep. Sweet dreams.